It looked like it's happening. Angel Reese is asking out of Chicago already.
Angel Reese officially puts the Chicago Sky on notice. We're not doing the same thing this offseason that we did last offseason. Stop bringing me bums to play with.
Angel Reese just dropped a bomb in the Chicago Tribune, saying she's not settling for the same mess next year and demanding the Sky bring her nothing but stars. Bold words, right? But here's the kicker. She's leading the league in turnovers even though she missed weeks, and she still struggles to finish a simple layup. Her shaky play just got her suspended, and fans are starting to whisper the unthinkable. Maybe the Sky don't need to swap out her teammates? Maybe it's Reese herself that's the problem. Is Angel Reese the biggest letdown in WNBA history? She's definitely no Caitlin Clark, that's for sure. Tell us in the comments, are you riding with Clark, the baby GOAT, or Reese, the so-called baby giraffe? Now here's where it gets wild. It almost looks like Reese wants out.
Is looking spooky in Chicago. Instead, Reese said she doesn't believe her teammates Rachel Berman or Haley Van Lith are capable of leading them to the leading the playoff team. Guard Ariel Atkins is another player on the Sky roster with WNBA championship experience. We are aware of it, Marsh stated. We are addressing.
Imagine calling for your squad to get replaced, only for your own franchise to consider cutting you loose. That's the mess Angel walked herself into after her Chicago Tribune comments. And she didn't sugarcoat it one bit. Reese flat out said, "I'm not settling for the same we did this year," and doubled down that she needs good players and great players around her. Period. That's not the voice of a team leader trying to grow with her squad. That's somebody sounding like a diva ready to gut her locker room on record. And the fallout? Oh, it was ugly. That interview didn't just ruffle feathers. It set the whole coop on fire. Reports say her words infuriated teammates and even veterans across the league. Things got so heated a special locker room sit-down had to be called just to calm everyone down. That's not leadership. That's damage control. Imagine being so unproven that half the team has to hold a meeting just to clean up after what came out of your mouth. And let's talk about one of the nastiest shots she threw.
On Courtney to come back at that age that she's at, Reese said. I know she'll be a great asset for us, but we can't rely on that. We need someone probably a little younger with some experience, somebody who's been playing the game and is willing to compete for a championship and has done it before. Courtney Vandersloot, by the way, two-time WNBA champion, five-time All-Star, two-time All-WNBA first team, left the New York Liberty, a championship caliber team, to come help out the Chicago. Oh, damn. Oh, damn, oh, dang, oh, dang. It's all right, Courtney. It's all right.
Reese allegedly brushed off Courtney Vandersloot, even though the vet missed the year recovering from an ACL tear. She basically dismissed her as too old for the Sky's present or future. That stung hard, because Vandersloot isn't just any player. She's a respected champion and one of the sharpest point guards the league has ever seen. Tossing her aside like yesterday's news doesn't just disrespect Vandersloot. It alienates every veteran still fighting in this league. That's a dangerous game to play. Now here's the ironic twist. The Chicago front office already bent over backwards to give Reese her dream setup. Don't forget, they gave up Sonia Citrone, a rookie who's already an all-star and fighting for Rookie of the Year, just to bring in Ariel Atkins, an established star meant to boost Reese's chances of winning now. That was the front office saying, "We got you." And instead of showing love, Reese acted like none of it was enough. How can you blast the front office for not trying when they literally sacrificed a potential franchise cornerstone just to build around you? That's not gratitude. That's self-sabotage. It would have been messy enough if Angel Reese only threw shade at the vets, but she didn't stop there. Even the younger teammates like Haley Van Lith caught strays, with Reese basically implying the whole squad was either too old, too mid, or too soft. That's wild! Suddenly, the vets felt insulted, the young players felt dismissed, and instead of uniting the locker room, Reese became the one person everybody turned against. She wanted a rally around her, but what she got was the whole squad frustrated and pointing the finger right back at her. That's a dangerous spot to be in. And when you check her...
So it's stated multiple lead sources told Front Office Sports that the entire team has seen Angel Reese comments and that teammates are unhappy with the direct attacks. A team meeting is planned at which players are expected to address Reese directly.
Actual on-court impact, it's crystal clear why this power play backfired so badly. If you're gonna crown yourself above the roster, you'd better dominate every night. Instead, Reese turned into the piece that didn't fit, the one out of sync, the mismatch inside the very system she was trying to reshape. That's not star behavior, that's chaos. The vision she bragged about actually ended up exposing the truth Chicago didn't want to admit. Their biggest problem might not be the roster she dragged. It might be Angel Reese herself. And the sting is even worse when you realize that while she was begging for upgrades and great players, she couldn't even handle the basics, like protecting the ball in her own hands. What if the player demanding a roster overhaul was the one dragging the team down? That's exactly what the numbers show. Sure, she's putting up around 14 to 15 points a game with double-digit boards. Looks decent at first glance, right? But then you look closer, and it's ugly. Reese is leading the entire WNBA in turnovers, and that's after missing weeks of action. Think about how insane that is. She sat out, played fewer minutes than the real stars, and still managed to cough up the ball more than anybody in the league. That's not dominance. That's reckless basketball. Now, turnovers happen when players push the pace too hard, but Reese's giveaways weren't about aggression. They screamed impatience, bad decision-making, and zero control under pressure. And the problems didn't stop there. Her discipline was just as shaky, running her mouth at refs, losing composure, and racking up whistles that killed her own squad. She even crossed the line no franchise cornerstone should ever cross: suspension territory. Reese picked up her 8th technical foul of the season, which by rule triggered an automatic 1-game suspension. And it didn't come on some random weekday matchup. It smacked right before the highly anticipated showdown against the Indiana Fever. The league hyped that game for weeks, and Reese managed to knock herself out of it. And why? Not because of injury, not because of rest, but because she struck Aaliyah Edwards in the head fighting for a rebound. Whether folks think it was intentional or not, the refs saw it clear as day, and the league had no choice but to enforce it. That's not just embarrassing, that's sabotaging your own team at the worst moment. And here's the ultimate twist. When Reese was off the floor, the sky actually looked better. The ball zipped around smoother, the defense had more bite, and at times they even snatched wins without her. That's backwards. A true star raises the ceiling when they step on the court. But with Reese, the less she played, the more her team thrived. A supposed franchise player who functions in reverse, that's brutal. Angel Reese's suspension was supposed to be a wake-up call. But instead, it turned into the perfect showcase of how shaky her franchise player tag really is. The sky stepped on the floor without her. And suddenly the offense flowed smoother. The defense looked alive, and the chemistry clicked in ways that hadn't all season. That's not just coincidence. That's exposure. Think about what that means. The front office gave Reese the keys, built the roster around her, sacrificed young talent to bring in vets, and yet the squad often played better the moment she wasn't there.
What is the back injury? Everybody's questioning it now. And this will be a 3rd straight season where Angel Reese did not finish playing in games, where she just stopped. She just stopped. Some of these injuries, we saw the injuries. We didn't see what happened. What happened? This is bad.
That flips the whole script. Your so-called leader shouldn't be the one holding you back. And here's where it gets even uglier. Opposing teams started catching on too. Scouting reports began painting Reese not as a defensive stopper or offensive engine, but as a liability. Coaches noticed the Sky often struggled to adapt to her slow footwork on defense and her tendency to force bad shots on offense. Instead of fearing her, rivals circled her name like a target. That's the exact opposite of how stars are supposed to be treated. Meanwhile, her attitude off the court just kept adding fuel. Word spread that Reese wasn't exactly winning friends behind the scenes. Her blunt interviews and dismissive comments didn't sit well with veterans around the league. One insider even claimed, "She talks like she's already a legend, but she hasn't proved anything yet." That's the type of chatter no rising player wants hanging over their name. And it's not like fans let it slide either. Social media lit up with clips, memes, and side-by-sides comparing her game to Caitlin Clark's. Clark was pulling up from the logo, dropping dimes across the floor, and carrying the Fever into primetime, while Reese was racking up turnovers, jawing at refs, and sitting out marquee matchups thanks to suspensions. The contrast couldn't have been louder. The irony. Chicago thought they were getting a culture changer, someone who would turn the Sky into contenders overnight. Instead, what they got was a polarizing figure whose presence sometimes dragged the team down more than it lifted them up.
Angel Reese, oh damn, has been assessed with 8 technical fouls, and she will be suspended for Friday game unless it is rescinded. And I'm telling you right now, look, he said it best, her attitude. That mug ain't getting rescinded. Angel Reese has struck out again.
And when a franchise starts looking more cohesive without their star, the writing on the wall starts to look real dangerous. And the pressure keeps piling. Every time Reese steps on the floor now, eyes are glued not to her stats, but to her composure. Will she hold on to the ball? Will she keep her cool with refs? Will she play smart team basketball? Or force the issue until the whistle blows again? That's not the weight a young player should be carrying. But that's exactly where Reese put herself with all the talking and demanding. Because at the end of the day, it's simple. If you call yourself the leader, the star, the future, then your play has to back it up. But when the sky looks sharper without you, when rivals don't fear you, and when your own teammates have to hold locker room meetings just to deal with the fallout from your comments, you don't look like a franchise cornerstone. You look like the weak link. If you ask Sky fans whether Angel Reese looks like the future of the franchise, a lot of them will tell you the same thing. She feels more like an anchor dragging the team down. She wanted to prove she was the centerpiece, but the results told a different story. What good are 15 points and 12 rebounds if they come wrapped in sloppy turnovers, endless arguments with refs, and suspensions at the worst possible moments? Watching Reese on the court didn't feel like watching a savior. It felt like watching a liability. And when the season reached its key stretches, she wasn't dependable. That lack of stability makes the contrast crystal clear, because while Reese was burning bridges and sinking her own team, another young star was setting the gold standard for leadership, Clark. Now here's the difference. While Angel Reese was busy throwing shade at her teammates, Clark was doing the exact opposite. Clark's been under the heaviest spotlight any WNBA player has ever faced. Every play dissected, every mistake magnified, every move turned into headlines. You'd expect that kind of pressure to break somebody down, but Clark handled it with patience and professionalism from day one. Even when she went down with injuries, she didn't disappear. Clark still traveled with the fever, sat on the sidelines, cheered for her teammates, and made sure her presence was felt. That's what commitment looks like. Meanwhile, when Reese was sidelined, she distanced herself, leaving her squad to push on without her. And Clark's leadership goes way beyond showing up. She's shown sportsmanship you don't usually see from young stars. One of the best examples came when she publicly praised Angel Reese after a strong game, even though the media keeps pushing their rivalry. Instead of feeding drama, Clark gave her credit. That's maturity. Think about that difference. Reese uses interviews to tear her own team down, while Clark uses hers to build bridges with teammates and even opponents. That's leadership, plain and simple. And the effect on her squad is impossible to ignore. With Clark on the floor, Aaliyah Boston dominates the paint with confidence. Guards like Lexi Hull and Kelsey Mitchell get open looks, and Sophie Cunningham thrives in the spacing Clark creates. Clark doesn't just score, she makes the whole unit better. That's why she led the league in assists last season with over 9 a game. And even this year, despite injuries, she's still averaging above 8. Her presence transforms the Fever into a real squad. And the media has noticed, too. Every article about Indiana talks about Clark as the model of professionalism, how she speaks about her teammates, how she supports her locker room, how her preparation sets an example. Meanwhile, Reese had to walk back and apologize for trashing her own roster after that Tribune interview blew up. The difference is night and day. And when you stack Reese's missteps against Clark's rise, her downfall doesn't look like bad luck at all. It looks like the straight-up result of her own choices. That's the ugly truth. Picture this. One franchise star has fans buying tickets months in advance, selling out arenas, and creating buzz every single night, while the other has teammates holding emergency meetings just to talk about locker room drama. Which team do you think fans are lining up to see? The Indiana Fever have flipped their whole identity since Clark landed in town. They were a lottery squad before she arrived, and now they're creeping into the playoff picture, grabbing national TV slots, and smashing attendance records. Meanwhile, over in Chicago, Angel Reese has turned what should have been a promising rebuild into a circus of complaints, apologies, and endless questions about her so-called leadership. Fans aren't dreaming about championships with the Sky. They're wondering if the front office regrets every move they made tied to her. That's how far the vibe has sunk. And let's not forget how Clark handled her injuries compared to Reese. Clark never hid out or ghosted her squad when she was sidelined. She hopped on flights, sat on the bench in street clothes, and supported her teammates every single night. That's how you show you're locked in. Reese, on the other hand, stayed away when she was hurt, leaving Chicago to scrape by without any sign of leadership from the player they were supposed to be rallying around. Her absence only made it clearer that she wasn't all in. And look at how Clark's squad is thriving beside her. Aaliyah Boston is turning into a superstar in the paint. Lexi Hull is playing with swagger because of the space Clark creates. Kelsey Mitchell is putting up one of her best seasons, and Sophie Cunningham slid right in like the missing piece. Clark doesn't just score, she reshapes the floor, makes everyone better, and sets up her teammates to shine. The proof is everywhere. Indiana is dominating attendance charts, moving merch like crazy, and consistently getting primetime coverage. Chicago, they're sitting on a miserable 10-30 record, battling suspensions, drowning in negative headlines, and facing a frustrated fan base sick of excuses. Fans are venting openly, pointing fingers at Reese's attitude and saying flat out, "This isn't working." And here's the sharpest contrast of all. Clark's professionalism is why veterans want to play with her, while Reese's endless complaints are scaring stars away from Chicago. The stats back it up too. Indiana wins more with Clark on the court, while the Sky often looks smoother when Reese is off it. That's the complete opposite of what a franchise cornerstone should be. So now the big question has to be asked. Was Angel Reese ever the right bet for the Chicago Sky? She wanted the roster rebuilt around her. But the irony is, the team might realize their biggest problem is her. You can't demand greatness while leading the league in turnovers and watching your team succeed more without you in the lineup. Analysts are already labeling her toxic, with one even calling her a liability you can't build around. Meanwhile, Indiana's future looks brighter by the day, with Clark, Boston, Mitchell, Hull, and Cunningham building something real. One city's rising, the other's sinking fast. Let us know in the comments. Are you Team Clark, the baby GOAT, or Team Reese, the baby giraffe? Smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a drop. Click the video on your screen right now, and we'll see you in the next one.